guys, I don't think I'm up to take 10. We're going to go through, we're going to talk about Gettr and the CEO being on Tim Pool, because there were some bombshell revelations, but to be honest, it's basically what I predicted what was going to happen with Gettr. I did that about 8 months, about 3 months ago, 2 months ago, and basically I predicted it then, but we'll reiterate that. And we'll just have a conversation about the CEO of Gettr. I do want to give him props for going into the lion's den, so to speak. I think he might have underestimated how much Tim might have held his feet to the fire. But full props, because he sat there, he took all the questions, the hard questions, like a champ. And I do understand what he is saying, although whether he wants to admit it or not, it's pretty much what I was saying to you guys about a month or 2 months ago regarding Gettr. So let's jump into it, because in this situation, in this clip here, we're going to be talking about Nick Fuentes, and obviously why he was banned from Gettr. To be honest, this is sort of about as heated as it got. So let's go through. We'll play this, and we'll watch Tim hold the feet to the fire.
Save for the fact that if you're out there trying to organize and collect with a group, that I don't even think just the media. I mean, look at many people who've self-ID'd as being part of that group or part of that ideology.
Bro, I don't think you got an argument here, man. It sounds like complete bullshit. I don't think you know anything about this group. I got to be honest, I don't either. But this is just talking in circles. I've not listened to Nick Fuentes. I don't know a lot about him. I know that he's been banned across the board. I know that he's had trouble getting on planes. I can hear what his fans are saying, but I don't know. Maybe they're just lying because they want to support him. I really don't know. So it's really difficult for me to be like, to understand exactly what he did wrong. The issue for me is when I ask you, you don't seem to know either.
No, I think
all you said is that he posted, who else here is a groiper? I'm like, well, what's a groiper? You don't know. You just read it in the media and they said something bad about him. Is that justification? For me, I got no idea. Like, I thought you were going to come on and be like, look, Nick Fuentes said this, and he said this, and you got to understand, we did research on groipers and found this, but you don't even have that.
Look, and I'm going to say on this that you're not going to make everyone happy when you're running a social media platform. And people are going to have different opinions. So your opinion might be that, hey, that's BS. There are other people who are going to say, look, these guys are making sure that this is a safe platform, and we respect what they're doing. They're giving us that ability to have that political free speech. And look, we might just disagree on this.
Right, so with Nick Fuentes, this is pretty much what I suspected 2 months ago when we did the original video. I think it was about 2 months ago. I turned around and I said the reason why Nick Fuentes was banned wasn't because of anything he said or did, was because of the fact that they are trying to keep themselves on the Apple and the Google Play Store. Here's a reality check for everybody. If you run a social media platform and you're not on Apple or Google, you basically can kiss all of the normies goodbye. The vast majority of people out there, even if they have a Google phone, are not going to know how to download the API and to install it onto their Google phone. Right? And here's the thing. Even if they do manage to allow you to put the app on the App Store and then remove you at a later date, most of the time Google will actually go through and remove the app from the App Store, and then next time it does an update, it will remove it from your phone as well. I think it was Gab that had that situation that happened to them. So at the end of the day, I get why he is fiercely protective of his property. He's the CEO of Gettr. He wants to make sure that the app is still on the App Store, still on the Play Store for Google. And at the end of the day, he wants to make sure it's on there so that he can still get the base to go onto the app. Because at the end of the day, he said earlier, they talked about going through and getting a whole bunch of finance and basically getting investors. Guess what? If they're not on the App Store, they're not on the Google Play Store, then the investors aren't going to be interested. Right? Because that's all the investors are going to say. Okay, are you on the App Store? Yes. Are you on the Google Store? Yes. Great. Okay, well now we're interested. If the answer is no, they're going to be like, great, terrific, why not? Oh, well, we're not on there because Apple doesn't want us on there because we have some marginally interesting characters, they're going to be like, oh, okay. Look, let me know when you've taken care of that problem and we'll reevaluate the situation. And we know the media would literally lambast these guys in the media, going on about how it's the alt-right honeypot if they weren't to go through and to remove people like Nick Fuentes. Right? So the reality of the situation is I get why he doesn't want him on the platform. I also, being the defensive that I am, I also get why people have a problem when he calls this a free speech platform, because guess what? It's not. If you are going to go through and ban someone because he's asking if there's any groupers, I think it's groupers, if there's any groupers out there and you're going to be like triggered and ban him, that's not a free speech platform. Gab AI is a free speech platform. Gab AI also doesn't have an app on the App Store, also doesn't have a Google Play Store app. They were removed. That's why. At the end of the day, those two places, they control the market. And at the end of the day, if you're not on the App Store, if you're not on the Google Play Store, guess what? Good luck to the majority of your base. Now, if you want to talk about a third company coming along, for example, I run Linux on my Samsung phone. It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And I still have access to the Google Play Store, and I still have access to my own apps and everything like that. I actually have the Gab AI app on my phone. I think it's the app. Maybe it's Shortcut. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I have a link on my phone to Gab AI. I think it might have been the app. I'm not quite sure. I have to check. But at the end of the day, it was a nightmare. It wasn't a nightmare for me because I'm good with computers. But it'd be a nightmare for anybody else because I had to go through, download an API installer, download the actual API from Gab, put them both on my phone, and then actually install it. Actually, I don't think the actual API worked, actually. I think at the end of the day, I had to actually go through and make a shortcut. But regardless. So it was a nightmare. It was a complete nightmare. Any normie out there is going to have no idea how to do this stuff. Do we need a third alternative to Google or app? Sure. Yes. Google or Apple Play Store? Yes. It would be amazing. There is one out there for Linux. Let me actually just double check what it's called. F-Droid. So I have the Aurora store, which allows me to access Apple, Google apps as well, as also F-Droid, which allows me to access any apps that have been given to the Linux crew. They are strict. There's certain criteria where you're not allowed tracking user data and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, once that's all been approved, you can throw it on the F-Droid store, and yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Been meaning to actually talk to Andrew Chabot about actually doing that, actually. But anyway, but guys, yeah, so like I said, there is a third option, but to do it, you have to basically format your phone. Now, I know we're getting off on a tangent, but this is the reason why he is protective of his IP. This is why he's gone through and banned Nick Fuentes. He can sit there and say it's not that until he's blue in the face. But the fact is that he's mentioned that they're getting backers, they're getting investors. They've gone through, they want to keep themselves on the Apple Play Store. They want to make sure they're on the Google Play Store. And no one really knows about F-Droid. So at the end of the day, I understand why he is saying we don't want Nick Fuentes on the site. I get it. I really, really do. But at the end of the day, yeah, it was actually good to see Tim having this discussion with this guy from Gettr, the CEO from Gettr. It was interesting, but to be honest, everything that came out, these bombshell revelations, are pretty much everything that I suspected. This is why I prefer to use Gab AI, because it is a true free speech platform. I do have Gettr, I do use it, but I also mostly use Gab as well. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, Tim did also go through And also give this disclaimer. We will play this because this shows, where Tim is at.
I want to make sure everyone knows as we wind down that I think Gettr is a massive net positive. And we don't have the opportunity to challenge big tech the way we have you sitting here answering these questions. And so instead of, directing anger towards you to a greater degree than we would Jack Dorsey, I think anybody who's upset about Nick Fuentes especially should probably roll their eyes, get frustrated, and be like, here are my complaints, here are my issues with this. We recognize big tech is substantially worse. Look, take the win. If I know it's a lot of people are upset about Fuentes particularly, but if we can make sure that Dr. Malone has a voice and we can gain some ground back in free speech, I'll take it. I'm not going to be completely happy with some of the rules I'm concerned about, but I think Gettr is better than Twitter in that capacity.
And the one thing I'd add on that.
So at the end of the day, I actually totally agree with Tim here. While it's not the best situation, it's still good to have Gettr. It's still good to get the normies onto Gettr and get them away from Twitter, right? Is it worse than Twitter? No. I think Twitter is going to be a lot worse, especially with this new manager, this new CEO. But at the end of the day, Gettr will not ban you for, just having a milquetoast, obviously standard political opinion. You can sit there and go on about, how Trump might have won 2020, or you can sit there and go on about vaccine mandates, or whatever it may be. You can go through and you can talk about all that stuff. You don't have to worry about being banned. Obviously, it's not going to be a safe haven for the alt-spacey, those bad right guys. I have to break it up because, triggering. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be a safe haven for them. We have Gab AI for that, I suppose. But at the end of the day, it's still a net positive when it comes to, obviously, to social media. Because if we can get the normies off Twitter and we can get them on Parler or we can get them on Gettr, for example, they're one step closer to Gab AI for a start. And secondly, obviously we're not going to get banned on Gettr for saying that, Trump should have won 2020 or whatever it may be, right? So at the end of the day, I really do think Gettr is a net positive. It's just not the free speech platform that he keeps trying to claim it is, right? And I really, really wish that he would learn to stop saying that, because it really is coming across as disingenuous when he sits there and goes on about how it's supposedly a free speech platform, but he banned Nick Fuentes for simply asking if there's any groups out there or any certain members of a particular group. Like Nick asked if there was groupers out there and he got banned for it. So at the end of the day, would I like him to stop saying it's a free speech platform? Sure. Maybe he can revise that and say that it's a political free speech platform or something. I don't know. I'm not his marketing. But at the end of the day, I do see the argument for people that are complaining about Nick Fuentes being banned. I do see the argument for people that claim that it's not free speech. But I also do see the argument that it is also a net positive, just because of the fact that at the end of the day, it gets people off Twitter, and a lot of the normies, a lot of the Trump base aren't going to get banned for simply asking about vax mandates or talking about, the poke hesitancy. Right? So at the end of the day, that's my stance. And I suppose I'm now the milquetoast fence sitter. But, that's where I stand on this situation. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.